Hey, folks, welcome to this edition of the Concealed Carry podcast. We're trying a new software today to run the video feed. Looks like I'm just checking a message here. It's giving me like an error, but I think it was not actually an error. I just thought it was an error. Cool. I got a notification that we're live on YouTube. So this is
Yeah,
a first. We've never done the podcast live on YouTube. So we are live on YouTube and on Facebook. First time ever.
very, very cool. Very cool.
Um, I just realized I gotta close my door here. Hang on. Be right back.
So new software. I have no idea what's going on here. So hopefully you guys are seeing the videos and hearing us okay. If you can, just let us know. If you're having any audio or video problems, let us know because this is all new setup that we're trying to run here.
Yeah. Ben says, I guess everyone survived the hot dogs, which was lunch yesterday for the company meeting that we had. This Jacob says this is cool, and he's commenting on YouTube, which is really really cool because again, we're live on YouTube for the first time ever, at least the podcast. I'm still getting familiarized with this program, but it looks really cool because I'm seeing everybody's comments just popping in here. In fact, I believe I can even throw up comments on the screen, kind of like the old software I was using once upon a time that had all kinds of glitchy stuff. So there's Tim's comment. Been thinking of ankle carrying as a backup firearm.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, it's
Yep.
super cool, right? Now I got to figure out how to make it go away. Oh, here we go. All right, so figuring things out here. Thanks for being patient with us today. Wow, this is super cool. I'm seeing comments from Facebook and YouTube coming in all at the same time. It's just so cool. Man, I haven't been so pumped up in quite a while. Cool. I'm very excited. And we can do some more design stuff. I can add like customization to our feed. Like banners, logos. I got our logo up in the corner of the screen there, but I can do more of that. So um, Jacob says comments show up on YouTube and Facebook. Like Jacob, you're seeing the comments on YouTube that are from Facebook. Is that what you're saying? Because if so, that's super cool.
No, I don't. I'm on YouTube. I don't see the Facebook comments. Just YouTube comments go on to Facebook, but not the other way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Special recognition to John Crump. John Crump's a friend of ours, writes for Amaland, and he does what do you call it? The Patriot. Ah, shoot, I forgot what it's called. What his show is called, but he does a podcast basically like this. Oh, the ones that push the screen. Thank you, Jacob. Right, right, right. So, like, if I do this, Jacob really ought to update his profile pic. Anyway, so thanks to John Crump, I was on his show the other day, and he was using this program, and I'm like, "What? I didn't even know about this one." And it looks like it's really, really cool. Hey, Ghost, thanks for joining. So, Matthew has a hard stop in 45 minutes, and I am putting a timer up right here so that I actually can see that. Jacob conveniently left his time timer. This makes me feel like I'm in elementary school again. And so the timer begins now.
Nice.
Now I did turn off the alarm so it won't like blare in the microphone here, but
I haven't seen one of those in a long time.
I know, right? So yeah, 45 minutes. Here we go. Is that right? Am I
Yeah, that's good.
okay? All
Yep.
right. We want to make sure that he gets to where he's got to go. So, uh, all righty. Well, let's do the recorded portion of the show then, and everything looks good. Here we go. Let's rock and roll. This is the Concealed Carry Podcast, episode number 360. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network. I am your host, Riley Bowman, joined today by Mr. Producer Extraordinaire, Co-Chief, big time, super dog over there, Matthew Marister. What's up,
Yeah,
dude?
yeah, yeah. How you doing, man?
Your title just keeps getting longer and longer.
Yeah, I mean, you're just throwing extra stuff in there to trick people into thinking that one of those things sticks, right?
Right, right. So today we are live for the first time ever. Those of you that only listening to the audio, I'm sorry, you're missing out because we are live for the first time ever on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously using a new program to make that possible. And we're super excited. So we'll maybe even have more comments than is usual from both those that choose to view us on Facebook and YouTube. Today's topic is all about ankle carry and other non-traditional carry methods. Uh, we'll especially focus on the ankle carry piece, and we'll see where the discussion takes us today. It should be a good one, though. We're looking forward to this episode with all of you. Today's episode made possible and brought to you by Wilderness Tactical. In fact, specifically the Wilderness Tactical ankle cuff, which I was totally going to have one sitting right here so I could show those on the camera here, and I left it out in the truck. Oh, well. But the ankle cuff, I've actually got a different one on, and I'm not going to mention that, but I'm actually trying something else because that's what I do as a reviewer, but I also have the Wilderness Tactical ankle holster. So I'm actually, and this is kind of part of today's episode, is I've got an ankle, carried gun, and I've also got an IFAK on my ankle. And then I was going to have the Wilderness Tactical ankle IFAK ready as well to show folks. But we're talking about all that today. But Wilderness Tactical makes some great high-quality products. And so I'd encourage you to check them out. We have the ankle cuff available for sale on our site at concealedcarry.com. And you can also go to thewilderness.com, which is their website, and you can see the whole lineup of Wilderness Tactical products. And so cool stuff there. Today's episode also sponsored by Guardian Nation. And folks, if you've been a long-time listener to the podcast, then you should be familiar with Guardian Nation and everything it has to offer. But if you're not, head on over to guardiannation.com and check out all the great benefits of membership. It's super cool. In fact, we have Guardian Nation members watching right now, and I'm pretty sure they agree with me. So, and by the way, you can take advantage of a free 14-day trial of Guardian Nation just so you can get familiarized with everything. And check that out at concealedcarry.com/14day, 14day. So, because Mark says that I like to add a lot of filler, I guess it's time to stop talking and get into today's episode content. Today's episode, again, we're talking about ankle carry and other non-traditional carry methods. But let's start with the ankle carry piece. So, Matthew, I mentioned that I'm carrying right now ankle. And in fact, I'll just take this off. Those that are able to view, you'll see here, I've got the Wilderness Tactical ankle holster here. And I've got in there my Ruger LCP2, which I think is a really great gun for this kind of purpose. I like the LCP2 a lot. It's actually pretty easy to shoot compared to the first generation LCP. Fits really nicely in this. And this particular ankle holster has kind of this soft, almost wool-like. It's not wool, but it's just this soft material that goes up against the leg where the gun is located specifically. And then we have a little retention strap over the back of the gun. It should keep it in there even if I am, running or moving around. There you go. So that's an ankle holster right there. And I'll just start off first, Matthew, by saying that ideally, if you're, say, a right-handed shooter, you should probably carry your ankle gun, your gun on your ankle on your non-dominant side.
Agreed.
Right? Yep. Because generally you want to wear it on the inside of the leg or ankle. That generally, I think, conceals best. And because of that nature, the nature of that, then you'd want that to be on your left leg if you're a righty, so that it's easier to grab and draw from. Now, you could actually, and some people do carry on the outside of the leg on an ankle holster, and you'd probably want to do that than on your dominant leg. But in my experience, like I said, I've had better success concealing this when it's on the inside of the leg. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a common question that a lot of people ask about, like ankle carry. What where on which leg on the inside, outside? Just like you said, you know, the body drawing from the inside of the leg is probably a little bit easier, and we could talk about different ways you can draw and everything. But also, if you've never worn an ankle holster, try putting the gun on the outside of your ankle and see how many times you smash it into like the side of a table or things, because it sticks out and you're not used to having something out there. Even when you put it on inside, you know, sometimes I carried a Glock 27 as a backup gun, and I carried it in an ankle holster for quite some time, because I was issued a 22, so same caliber and all that stuff. But while I was on duty, and it took a little bit of getting used to, because, you know, even walking with it on the inside, sometimes, you know, you'll kick it, or you'll hit it up against something. But especially if you put it on the outside, so it kind of protects the gun, and it helps to facilitate some easier drawing from the ankle position, which is a little bit more difficult as it is anyway. So why make it more difficult by putting it on the outside?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, you know, again, you can make the outside ankle method work. I haven't found it to be as ideal. So good summary, Matthew. Now, to draw from an ankle holster, usually what you would do is simply kneel down, right? Because you got to get down to your ankle, right? And so you would, for me, being right-handed and carrying on the inside of my left ankle, I would either step forward with my left foot, or maybe I'd even step back with my right foot. Either way, I'm going to make it so that my left knee is up, reach down, and it usually works best to use two hands to pull up the pant leg. You got to get it up and out of the way. I've struggled, you know, doing it one-handed. Can you do it? Yes, it's slower. You got to kind of pull it maybe one. And granted, there's a lot of considerations, like the pants you're wearing, how baggy the legs of the pants are, you know, that kind of stuff will play into this, of course. But you know, most of the time these days I'm wearing 511 Tactical Defender Flex jeans, which are a straight leg. They're not super baggy, they're not super tight, but they definitely are tight enough that I can't just reach down with one hand and pull my pant leg up and have access to my gun. So I either got to pull up one side, reach around, pull the other side, or use two hands. So it's going to depend on if you have one or two hands available. But anyway, you're going to pull up your pant leg and then draw your gun, and you'd probably at that point, it would make sense to just go right to using that gun probably from that kneeling position. Okay, of course, you could stand back up and fire, but that's probably like the first thing I want to talk about. In fact, there's a question from Ghost Tactical. Actually, I put up the wrong one. There we go. He asked, what do you think about ankle carry for primary carry? And I think this is a relevant question. So, Matthew, your thoughts on carrying a gun on your ankle as your primary weapon?
Yeah, I think it's, and maybe this is a good segue into other alternative methods of carry. I think if you're choosing ankle carry as your primary method of carry, it would be because other methods are not available to you, right? Like you can't carry inside the waistband or outside the waistband for whatever reason. I wouldn't shoot for ankle carry to be my primary, but if it is, and that's what it is, then, you know, you have to make it work. There are some situations where ankle carry may be primary. Maybe you have to, you know, be in a deeper concealment type environment, right? Where you can't typically carry around your waist or something like that. But yeah, it's certainly, I think we even had a podcast listener send in a question and said, like, he was going to get fitted for a tuxedo for a wedding. And he said, hey, you know, obviously they're going to be taking measurements and stuff. Should I carry ankle carry, or how should I carry? And it was like, well, you're probably going to, you know, they're probably going to take your measurements and on the ankle too. So that kind of segues into like other off-body carry type positions. But yeah, there are certain times that maybe ankle carry would be your primary method. But I mean, for me, if I'm being honest, I would say you probably wouldn't want that to be your method to carry if you had other options.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, ankle carry is not ideal at all for your primary gun. Again, it may be that's where you have to carry based on a certain situation that limits you from being able to carry elsewhere. It's hard for me to kind of imagine that somewhat because, well, no, I can think of a couple situations, but I was just thinking, like if I was carrying, it's not like you're wearing pants and, well, I guess you could wear pants and no shirt or
Yeah.
something, I mean, it's not something I really do. I'm not like out in my yard, wearing full length blue jeans and no shirt.
Showing off your abs and everything.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you, got some sweet abs over here. But yeah, as a primary, it's definitely not ideal, right? Because this is probably it's one of the slower draw methods or draw options, right? It takes some time. You gotta get down to the gun. You gotta get the pan up. Then you gotta get the gun out. And defeat some sort of retention mechanism, which maybe is probably not that big a deal, but it all adds up. Like time adds up. In fact, I was in Jeff Gonzalez's Trident Concepts class, the concealed carry instructor development class, well, like a month or two ago now, and he demonstrated ankle carry in front of the class, and we were just kind of like measuring his speed, and he's well practiced with it and very experienced as an instructor, and on average, probably a good 2 to 2.5 seconds at least, right? Whereas your normal draw, I mean, and that's assuming nothing goes wrong, right? That your pants don't get hung up or whatever, right? So that's basically double your normal draw speed. At least it is for sure for me. And honestly, there's probably individuals out there that aren't going to be even that fast drawing from the ankle. And then let's throw this into the mix. If you have physical limitations, meaning if you have bad knees or a bad hip or something like that, you're overweight and kind of weak, and like just think about what this means for you. Once you go to that kneeling position, it is a more compromised position, and you may not be able to get back up. Some of you, right? So you got to give that some thought. And again, the compromised part of it, that it's a lot more difficult of a position. You're just more vulnerable from a kneeling position when we're talking like in close quarters, right? There's definitely situations it makes sense, like maybe you're taking cover behind something, like okay, cool, that works out great. But if this is like a face-to-face encounter, that is a kind of a bit of a losing proposition to put yourself already on the ground. That's where you want to avoid getting to, is the ground when you're in a fight with somebody. So some things to think about. So if we're going to get into ankle carry, we need, especially if this is going to be your primary carry mode, you need to be aware of some of those factors and consider all of that. So now as a secondary option, as a backup, I don't have any problem with ankle carry because hopefully you don't ever have to get to that backup. And at least if you are carrying a backup on your ankle, well, at least you have a backup, whereas a lot of people don't. Obviously it could be debated as to how necessary a backup gun is in the first place, but can you certainly carry one? Sure. And so why not? And where's a good place to maybe do that? Ankle. All right, sounds good.
Yeah, and I would add kind of a layer to the backup gun, and not just for ankle carry, but any time you carry a backup gun. Lots of times, everybody trains with their primary method of carry, and they say, "Well, I'll just have a backup just in case, my main gun goes down or I can't get to it or whatnot." But they don't spend a lot of time practicing drawing from that backup gun wherever they might carry it, and so you certainly can do that on the range. But the other aspect of it, and then I've seen this, and I saw this in real life with other cops, right? And depending on what your lifestyle is like, what activities you're doing, I have seen people forget, or cops forget, that they have a backup gun, and they're fighting with the suspect, and you may have all the training in weapons retention on your main duty holster and how you retain that gun, but you start grappling with the suspect on the ground, or you're fighting with somebody, and all of a sudden they have access to this gun that you've never really tried to practice maintaining that gun and keeping somebody from taking it from you in a fight. So think about trying to keep control over a gun that's on your ankle while you're fighting. It may be difficult. I've seen also, less than ideal ankle holsters in a foot pursuit or fighting a suspect, and a gun goes flying out, and all of a sudden, cops are saying there's a gun on the ground. It's like, no, that's the cop's gun. Like, don't shoot this dude. Like, yep. That's so it's like, make sure your gear, depending on, and not everybody's fighting with everybody all the time or jumping over fences, right? But if you do lead an active lifestyle or something like that, just understand that there are some little considerations you have to make if you're going to carry a backup gun, whether it's on your ankle or small at back or wherever it is, that you can still maintain that gun, possession of that gun. It's there. The gear is going to hold up. It's not going to go flying out when you're running or, chasing after your kid in the mall. And then all of a sudden the gun goes flying out and you're like, oh, whoops. That kind of be a bad spot to be in.
Yeah, agreed. So some other, great comments and questions and things here. For instance, a question from Brian. He says, would ankle weights help you get used to it? And I think he also commented elsewhere something about, I think he's recognizing the fact that there's kind of this imbalance of weight with an ankle holster and gun. That certainly that's pretty much true for most setups. That is definitely, like, I definitely feel that imbalance in a setup like this Wilderness Tactical ankle holster. But if a holster is designed well, if the ankle cuff itself is designed well, you may feel that imbalance, but it shouldn't necessarily be insecure. So there's, of course, there's all kinds of different ankle holsters out there. You pay what you get for, as is the case with most things in life. And I've definitely seen some that are just utter crap. Like, don't even bother with them. I won't throw out any names, but, I would expect to pay, I don't remember what the Wilderness Tactical one costs, but I'm guessing, $50-ish at least. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in that ballpark or more. There's a great holster. I think Galco. Yes, Galco has an ankle holster that's just fantastic. It's probably it probably is the best one out there. Truth be known, but it's probably like $80 or $90, right? Mm-hmm. So the point is, like, don't go on Amazon, spend $20, and expect you're getting a good quality ankle holster. It doesn't work that way. So this Wilderness one I like. I can wear it all day. It's pretty comfortable. So that works. And I don't, again, I mean, I kind of feel that imbalance for a while, but you get used to it. Now, in the case of like a ankle IFAK, the pockets the way they are, you generally have gear lined up, around the perimeter of it. So you kind of are balancing that load a little bit. And a lot of stuff you're carrying in an IFAK aren't really that heavy in the first place anyway. Not that an LCP is that heavy. I mean, it's like a 15-ounce gun or something, so it's pretty lightweight, but it's still a pound. Question about wearing ankle weights to get used to it. I guess you could, but I wouldn't recommend wearing anything more than a pound or two. So yeah. had some kind of thing pop up there. I guess I'm back. So back to where I was. Oh yeah. So I mean, I guess you could use ankle weights to get used to ankle carry, but I mean, I wouldn't wear ankle weights more than a pound or two, because most of your guns are not going to, especially for ankle carry, you're not going to want most of your guns are going to be in the 15 to 22 ounce range. Mm-hmm. Right. So we're talking a pound to maybe a pound and a half. So, all right. I had another thought, kind of a segue, and I forgot what it was. Oh, Matthew, so I think we recognize that ankle carry is probably not ideal as a primary, but there are some contexts where actually makes a lot of sense, or at least more sense as a potential primary carry option. Can you think of any that might be?
I'm sorry, could you ask the ankle as a primary?
Well, for most people, in most contexts, it's not ideal for primary weapon carry, but there are a handful of contexts where it might make more sense as a primary carry option. For instance, what are we both doing right now?
On a podcast talking.
You're so missing it. You are missing it, bro.
Seated.
So seated. We're seated, yeah. Right? So like driving. So talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, driving. I mean, driving from a holster inside a vehicle presents its own challenges, right? Whether it's from the appendix, small back. Some people say, well, that's why I carry cross draw, or that's why I carry shoulder in the car and things like that. Certainly, as you're seated in a seated position, it's natural to be able to get to the gun in that position. So it may make sense if you're in the vehicle, you drive a lot, but you have to understand that it's a little bit difficult because you still have to get underneath the steering wheel and get to that gun. So, I mean, while it does facilitate a little bit easier of a draw because you don't have to get down into a kneeling position, I would still argue that you would probably have an easier draw if you carried appendix position in the first place, even if in a vehicle. Now, I know some people say, well, it's not as comfortable. I don't. This isn't about appendix carry, but I'm just saying it's in a seated position. You definitely have a little bit of an easier time getting to that ankle gun. So if you work in an office environment, 90% of your time you're sitting behind a computer, that may be very comfortable for you. And maybe that's how you carry because, maybe you wear a t-shirt tucked in or something at work, like a work shirt that's tucked in and you can't really conceal. You don't have a holster that will conceal well enough and you wear dress clothes, and maybe that's the way you go. And so that may be, your primary method of carry would be, ankle carry.
Yep. Yeah, so I've and there actually was a time where I spent a lot more time in the seat of my truck than I do currently. I mean, where I was driving and sometimes an insane amount of hours in the vehicle on a daily commute or whatever. Back when I had a construction business, I was all over the place. Sometimes this Denver metro area, I might start the morning on a job in southeast, on the southeast side of the metro, and by afternoon have to be completely on the opposite side of town. So you're spending, and you got traffic to deal with, so you're a lot of time in the vehicle, and so that starts to make maybe some more sense. Now that was before I was a big appendix carrier, and now I would just carry appendix like all the time, right? Because it just works for all of those contexts that previously I had other options that maybe made a little bit more sense since appendix wasn't really my choice at the time. But I know some individuals that are going to find the ankle carry a little bit more comfortable, and they spend a lot of time in their vehicle. So yes, it's a little bit easier to get to a gun in the appendix position than even the ankle position, but it's not bad, especially with practice from a seated position in a vehicle, or if you spend a lot of time in a seated position anywhere, in an office working or whatever. And we have to recognize that context should come into play. Your environment, what you're expecting to encounter, for the most part. I mean, obviously, anytime we are violently attacked, that's almost never what we expect, when we expect, how we expect. But let's say I'm working in kind of a white collar job, and it's a good neighborhood and a clean environment, and I'm wearing slacks and a tucked in button shirt most of the time. Well, ankle carry might be a little bit easier for me to carry concealed successfully than maybe trying to go with a tuckable holster on the waist somewhere while still trying to maintain that professional dress. But Matthew, let's talk about some other non-traditional carry methods. I say non-traditional, so let me define non-traditional in my world. Non-traditional is anytime it's not basically on your waist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Traditionally, you carry a gun on or around your waist. So as soon as we leave the waist, in my world, it becomes non-traditional. So one of those first other non-traditional methods would be pocket carry. So let's just talk about that real quick. And I'll just throw out that while ankle carry doesn't make sense in probably most contexts for most people as a primary weapon carry position, pocket carry is one of those that, while it's still not ideal as, say, carrying on your waist, it's still workable and usable and can function. You can do it pretty well and pretty quickly from a pocket, especially with practice and with a good quality pocket holster. And so pocket carry would be another non-traditional method that actually probably can pass as a primary carry position, as a primary weapon, as opposed to ankle. It really is, in my opinion, a secondary option. So what are your thoughts about, say, pocket carry? And what are some tips for people to have the greatest chance of success?
Yeah, I agree totally. I think when you look at pocket carry, obviously, depending on the size of the person will dictate the size of the pockets, right? So my pockets aren't going to be as big as your pockets. So what I can fit in my pocket, probably like a snub nose revolver, maybe an LCP type gun like that, or some of the real sub micro compacts. And so, yeah, they're definitely, I have seen some people draw from pocket holsters, very quickly. I think when you go down that road, you just have to start saying, well, because you are going to give up something, right? You're going to give up capacity with the size of the gun. So what are you going to give up? And typically, I would say my recommendation would be that if you're going to carry a pocket holster, or carry in a pocket holster, it's probably going to be something that may be double action only, like a double action, single action revolver, or a double action only semi-auto. Just for me, because you are going to have it in a holster in your pocket, but for me, it's a little bit different of a draw, and it's a little bit different trying to get it out through clothing and stuff like that. So for me, I would carry something that, even if it was a semi-auto, that was a double action only, just because you have that longer trigger pull. But I know plenty of people that carry. I even, when I would go outside and I was cutting the grass or mowing the lawn or whatever, and I had a tank top on or no shirts in the summertime, I'd throw like a revolver in my pocket, cargo pockets, and you're good to go. So I think pocket carry is definitely viable for a primary carry if you're doing something like that, like athletic wise, you're walking around the beach or something like that, and you can't carry something that's sticking out above your waist because you might take off your shirt or something like that. So
yep. Question from Eric, and you kind of touched on this already. He asked, what pistol would you recommend for pocket carrying? And yeah, so like a double action revolver, particularly one that's been where it's basically been dehorned, would be one way of describing that. Perhaps like an internal hammer or a bobbed hammer. Something like a Ruger LCR is, definitely one of those that would qualify, where the hammer is internal, or it's shrouded in some way, and everything else about the design of the gun is kind of done so that it minimizes chance for snagging. So that would be, honestly, just about any gun where you could ensure that it's going to draw from a pocket smoothly is probably fine for pocket carry. Obviously, you're going to be limited to stuff that's fairly small, on the smaller side of things. So this same LCP2 I have in this ankle holster is also my go-to for a pocket gun. And I've got a DeSantis pocket holster. What do they call that model? It's inexpensive, but I believe it's adequate for the purpose. Whereas I see some other pocket holsters, like some of the ones that are kind of just like a neoprene, sack, basically. Right. I don't trust. The materials is a lot softer and not as. In fact, even the pocket holster that comes, like there's one that comes with the Ruger LCP. I don't like it. I wouldn't trust it. It might. The thing is when the material is new, that's the thing, right? When it's new, it works okay, and it's probably dang near impossible to manage to get something to push through that material and activate the trigger. But you carry in a pocket, and it's in there, say, every day for a few weeks, and it starts getting really, that thing gets broken in and it gets really soft, and you start to see that material get to where it makes me nervous, right? Leather, we have to be cautious about. Actually, in all honesty, just about any pocket holster that is not Kydex or polymer. And there are some of those options as well. There are pocket holsters that are a Kydex holster, essentially, and they're pretty cleverly designed. I find that those ones tend to print a little bit more than probably the softer, rounder options, but they're definitely safe. Everything else, your neoprene, whatever stuff, the DeSantis one, I don't know what it's made out of. It has some kind of synthetic material on the outside. It's sort of rubbery and it sticks in the pocket, but the gun slides out really nicely. Then there's also leather ones too, and leather's okay. But again, over time, it'll start to break in more and more, and that area around the trigger and trigger guard can get softer and softer and can cause problems. And in fact, there's a well-documented incident of, I think, an off-duty cop that had a gun discharge in his pocket because that leather holster had gotten so worn and so soft to where the material around the trigger and trigger guard just like folded into the trigger guard and was able to depress the trigger. And that's the thing. Like, we think, well, I can't get my finger to push this in and I can't reach that trigger, but material can get soft and can fold in on itself. And that I've seen that a few times. So you got to watch for that stuff. So anyway, just about any small gun I think is fine. We want it to be snag free, and double action revolvers with no hammer exposed or whatever, they work great in this context. I have also carried my revolver in the pocket, and the cool thing about revolvers is they have a little bit different profile than a semi-auto.
Yeah.
Semi-autos are kind of blocky and square, and when they're paired with a well done holster, it just sort of looks like a wallet, so that can work really well. But revolvers, because of the nature of their shape, and you have the cylinder that's a little bit more of a bump. I mean, I just think that I definitely have seen where they kind of print, and if you know what you're looking for, you can kind of see them, but they just seem like they probably break up the outline a little bit better. So I don't know. It sounds like your experience in that is similar to mine as well.
Yeah. I mean, I personally think the revolver makes a perfect like backup pocket gun if that's what you want to carry a backup pocket gun, or you want to carry a gun in the pocket. I just think the revolver is perfect for that. I will mention that the new SIG 365 came out with, I think that then they say they had like those integrated sights that
the SAS model,
right? So, and I was thinking, and I was, I said, hey, I didn't know this, this was a necessity. Like, I've never had sights really getting snagged on things. And then Josh, the editor, was like, hey, well, what if you pocket carry? And I'm like, I'm looking at this 365. I'm like, there's no way I can pocket carry this gun. But, and that's just because of my own kind of innate biases. Like, I'm looking at the gun and I'm looking at my pocket and I'm like, no way. But yeah, there are people that, God made larger than me, so they probably can pocket carry a 365. So unbelievably, like, now that you could pocket carry a gun that might have 12 rounds capacity, or 10, 11 round capacity is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Here's a good question from Tim. How easy is it to draw from the pocket if you're sitting? That is a fair question. Yeah. It is not easy, is the answer. Right? So yeah, I think pocket carry is not ideal for trying to draw from a seated position. You kind of have to straighten out your body and straighten out your legs to make that work. So give that some thought and make sure that you know how you're going to deal with that, particularly if that is your primary gun at this point, in a pocket, and how are you going to access it in some of those less ideal circumstances, like in a seated position in a vehicle, for instance. And in pocket carry, seated in a vehicle can be even more problematic because you might have even a seatbelt right over top of the pocket. So that complicates it even further. It says here, I've lost my stream to Facebook.
I think you're still live.
I'm just going to confirm that. Stand by.
I still see you.
Looks like it's working. I don't know why it's telling me that it's not. That's silly.
It's fake news.
Sorry, I'm just making sure it's not a delay that I'm watching the delay. Uh, yep, looks like it's still working. I have no idea why it tells me it's not. All right, onward and upward. We've got about 10 more minutes here. Matthew, actually, you brought up the SAS model, the P365 SAS, and I'm kind of like with you a little bit to some extent in that the sites I don't think are going to cause that much of an issue. But I will say this, that clearly the way that 365 SAS has been designed is that thing is probably not snagging on anything.
Right.
So, and that is the use case for that gun, by the way. So I've seen a lot of hype, and I'm in some different, Facebook groups and stuff. Like there's a P365 group that I'm in, and like, there's a lot of hype. A lot of people like, oh, I got to buy the latest and greatest. I got to go buy that SAS. And I'm thinking, do you know why you're buying that gun? Because really the whole purpose of that gun is for what we're talking about here today. So if you're not thinking that it's going to be a dedicated pocket gun or a dedicated ankle gun or something like that, then you probably are better suited with a standard P365,
Yeah.
right? So, folks, just give that some thought, understand the purpose and the reason why you are choosing the gun you're choosing. If you're, I'm not going to tell anybody what they can't buy or shouldn't buy necessarily. But that particular site, the MeproLite site that is integrated into the slide on those SAS guns, while it's pretty cool and I think, you can definitely shoot fine with it, I don't think it's as ideal for most people. And so you need to understand that, and you should probably spend some time really getting familiar with it because it's kind of similar to shooting a red dot and arguably even a little bit more difficult than a red dot. And what I mean by that is that much like with a red dot sight mounted on a handgun where you can kind of lose the dot because you don't have things perfectly indexed, with the gun and where it's pointed and your grip and everything. And so, where did my dot go? And then you're trying to find the dot. At least in the case of at least how most guns should be set up with a red dot on the slide, where you should also have the option for backup iron sights. So my default is if I lose the dot, find my iron sights and I will find my dot. In the case of that MeproLite sight, there's two potential problems there. Number one, it's got a lot smaller window, if we can call it that, where you see a dot. And I know some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. Just go look up the P365 SAS model, and you'll see this sight's integrated into the slide. And when you're looking at the back of the slide, it's basically flush with the top. And it's honestly, it's really clever how I have never seen anybody do anything like this, which is cool because those that I have seen mounted with this MeproLite sight, it's just like mounted on top of the slide, and it's just kind of like a sight. Like, okay, whatever. The way they did this SAS gun is really, really clever. It's pretty cool. But basically, what you have is a tube with an illuminated dot inside of it, and it doesn't run off batteries or anything like that. It's using fiber optics during the day, and it has tritium in there as well that lights it up at night in low light conditions. But that little tube you're basically looking through, into, and you don't see your target through that tube. You have to superimpose this over your target. And in that tube, you'll see your dot, right? And you there is a ring around that dot, and like there's some things about how it's designed to kind of help guide your eye to find the dot and get everything lined up. But let's just say that it's the forgiveness factor is not as forgiving as even just having a red dot on your gun, right? Because you can be a little bit more misaligned with a red dot and still kind of see the dot on the edge of the window of your red dot. But with those MeproLites, if you get not that far out of alignment, it can be really challenging sometimes to find where that dot is in that sight and get it back on target. So just some food for thought. I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but I thought it was relevant based on, it came up as part of the conversation, and as far as guns that are designed to be sort of anti-snag, and that's actually what SAS stands for. It stands for, I think, SIG anti-snag. And the 365 is not the first SAS model they've ever released. They've got other guns they've released in the past, even like years ago, that they labeled SAS and kind of rounded the edges on them, and smoother sights and stuff like that. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, it is interesting for sure. Okay, so I think I realize now what it was telling me. I've lost my connection. I don't have comments from Facebook coming through anymore.
Got it.
That's what it was. I thought it was the video had been lost. Okay, so we're still learning this new program and this whole live streaming thing, especially to Facebook and YouTube. But overall, seems to be working pretty well. A few things I gotta kind of figure out and work through. But anyhow, all right. So we're down to just a couple of minutes, Matthew. There are other non-traditional carry methods that I kind of thought we'd have a little more time to talk about, but Riley went off on a tangent. So I don't know. What are maybe some of the last thoughts or words that you might have as we start to wrap this up?
Yeah, I think, and we could probably even touch on this in another episode sometime about, shoulder carry, because I know there's a lot of people that ask a question about, like, is it even safe because the way you're carrying it, it's pointing at people all the time. We get that question a lot. Off body carry, as far, either purse carry for women, or I don't know what messenger bag or satchel or whatever you want to call it for guys, purse, MERS. But I think, when I first started doing this concealed carry stuff, I was like, no, I would never carry off body. Like, I can understand how some people would. And I was never one of those like anti off body carry. Like, if you do, you're wrong. Like, don't ever do it. You're stupid. Like, you'll be, you'll be killed or whatever. It definitely presents some challenges, but it can be overcome. And I'm kind of warming up to the idea that, maybe some of these like messenger bag type carry methods in certain environments may be a pretty legitimate way to go. And maybe that's a whole nother episode, but I'm starting to kind of warm up to those a little bit more. But they certainly force you to take into other considerations, not just how you draw and present the gun, but what are you doing with that bag when, you're not, you don't have it wrapped around your shoulder or whatnot.
Yep. I think some of my final thoughts would be, so here'd be one other kind of final thing to consider as it relates. We've really kind of focused on pocket and ankle carry today. And I think these two methods of carry actually have one thing in common, potentially, and as related to this comment that I'm about to give, and that is that particularly where these are being carried as a backup gun. And again, I think an ankle gun makes more sense as a backup. So this definitely applies a little more to the ankle gun concept. But what I'm getting at is particularly where they're used as a backup, you might give some consideration to carrying them to where it's drawn with your non-dominant hand, right? Think about it. So why would we want or need a backup? Well, a couple options. One, you might run out of ammo with your primary gun. It's possible. Not likely in a lot of civilian, gunfights, but it's possible. Maybe your primary gun breaks, right? Something malfunctions. Maybe your gun gets struck by a bullet in a fight. Puts it out of the fight. And in the process of that, it might put your shooting hand out of the fight, right? So carrying a backup, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to carry a backup. And you might just give it some thought as to carrying that backup in a manner where you can draw it, if you're right-handed, instead with your left hand. So instead of carrying on your left ankle as righty, you might carry on your right ankle inside the leg for a left-hand draw, or you might carry a backup gun in a pocket and a left pocket, or a pocket you can draw with your left hand. So I'd give that some thought, right? Because that's particularly where maybe you're just in a fight, and maybe it starts out as a knife fight, and you get slashed with a knife on your primary hand and cuts through tendons, and now you can't even work the fingers on your primary hand, your right hand if you're right-handed. And so it might be faster to draw a backup gun from, say, a left pocket than to try to reach across your body and draw your primary gun that's set up for a right-handed draw. You see what I mean? So that would, I think I would probably kind of leave it there. for today's topic. That's not something that probably a lot of concealed carriers are really thinking. I know that's something that I see discussed a little bit more in some of my law enforcement communities. I definitely know some cops out there that off duty, they're carrying both on and off duty a primary and a secondary gun, and they'll have that secondary set up specifically to be drawn with their secondary or non-dominant hand.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Interesting as always.
I'd like to think so, or else people wouldn't listen, right?
Right.
So with that, it's time to wrap it up. We got to let Matthew go. And so again, today's episode made possible by The Wilderness Tactical Ankle Cuff. This is actually the ankle holster. And so the ankle cuff's available for sale on the concealedcarry.com site. It's ideal for using to set up an ankle IFAK, an individual first aid kit, primarily with the idea of, say, like trauma in mind, like carrying a tourniquet, maybe quick clot, Israeli bandage or something like that, compression bandage of some sort. That's how I've got my ankle cuff set up. Works great. Available for sale at the concealedcarry.com online store. And you can also, we don't have the ankle holster, at least not currently listed on the store. But if you like what you see here and you like how this one's set up and you like this nice soft material on the inside, I'll tell you, I like this ankle holster quite a lot. In fact, I've got another one from another brand that I wore a couple of times, but kind of gave up on it. So this Wilderness Tactical one works great. We appreciate Wilderness Tactical for their support of everything we do. And check them out. Concealedcarry.com. Again, we sell the ankle cuff. And if you're interested in the ankle holster, at least for right now, you could head over to thewilderness.com. And then finally, Guardian Nation. GuardianNation.com is a place you can find out details about the membership. And we'd love to see you a part of the nation. Go to GuardianNation.com, learn about the benefits, and I think you'll see very quickly why you want to at least consider joining. And if you just need a little extra push, take advantage of free 14-day trial at concealedcarry.com/14-day.
Check it out.
Absolutely. So, Matthew, I hope you have a great day and great weekend ahead of you. And I think you're doing the whole parent-teacher conference sort of thing. So that's always fun.
Yeah, we'll find out how my daughter's really doing, right?
I'm sure she's doing fine.
Yeah.
If it was you, getting the report on, that would be a whole other story.
I hated school. So glad I'm done.
Well, good. Well, again, have a great weekend and be safe. And to all of our listeners out there, you should all be safe as well and have a great weekend. And don't forget to train right, train often, and train safe so you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care. And that's a wrap. So hopefully this worked okay today. Again, I did lose my ability to see comments live time in the software I'm using, but I was still able to pop over and take a look at things on Facebook. It's not the end of the world, but this is actually a beta version of the software, so my hope would be that it gets better, but seemed like it worked pretty good. And it's pretty cool to be streaming on YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So folks, let us know what you thought, if you thought this was a good thing or not. And, we may give it a try another time or two before we decide if we're going to, really, make it kind of the thing. But I like the option of being able to do both YouTube and Facebook live streams. So looks promising so far. For sure. Well, we are going to say goodbye. Everybody. Oh, wait. No. What am I saying? We got to do a giveaway, Matthew. And if you got to duck out, feel free, brother. Feel free.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, guys, and good luck to whoever wins.
Yeah.
Thanks,
all right, buddy. We appreciate it, buddy.
Alrighty.
All right, so we'll say goodbye to Matthew there. Okay, so we have, and I got to think where I put them. We have patches to give away, and I had them here. And I don't remember where they got off to. Hold on, folks out there. I'm going to pull something randomly off a prize table, and we're going to give it away right now. All right? Because I don't know where the thing I had intended went to. That was a few days ago. I grabbed them to go take pictures of them, which I didn't because I'm too busy. So hang on. Let's find something to give away. Okay, the cool thing about doing the Facebook and YouTube thing live now, both, is that everybody viewing live on Facebook and on YouTube can participate in our live giveaway. So I just pulled randomly off. We have a table over here with just some random stuff set up on it that we sometimes give away to employees or, I don't know, other people that just walk in the office and stuff, which isn't all that often. But I have a couple things here. I had some patches, but we're not doing the patches. So I have a Sig Sauer koozie. Koozies, I think, are just like one of the funniest, almost dumbest things in the world. No, actually, they serve a they serve a purpose. But so I have a Sig Sauer koozie, and actually on the back has a 9-line apparel logo as well, and a coupon on the back that, or on the bottom, that I think is expired, because I think we got this at SHOT Show, and my guess is that's probably an old discount code. But it's a cool looking koozie. All right, so we're gonna give away a koozie and kind of a random mishmash of stickers. A Glock sticker, cool, and a Mission First Tactical sticker. That's pretty cool. Land of the Free, I like that. And a 10 years PMag, Magpul, can't pick this thing up, sticker. All right, so we're going to give away to one lucky winner right here, right now. All of that. How about that, huh? How about that? Okay, so if you have commented on Facebook or YouTube today and participated in the show, and if you're still with us, because you do need to be here to claim your prize, I will select at random one of you to win this little sticker and koozie prize pack. How about that? That's pretty fun, right? Now, let's see. Yeah, I've got all the comments here. I'm looking at things. So, what do you guys say? Should we do a giveaway? All right. So, I am going to pick a lucky winner. Ready? Drum roll. And this winner is Alan Linderholm. Alan Linderholm, who commented on YouTube. So, Alan, if you're still with us, in fact, yours is the last comment I see on YouTube. So, Alan, if you're still with us, comment and say you claim your prize. And then what we'll have you do is either message our Facebook page or email us at podcast@concealedcarry.com. We'll use the podcast email because that'll work. That'll get directly to me or Jacob or Matthew. So you can either message our Facebook page or email us at podcast@concealedcarry.com. And that way we will get to you. We'll get your address and everything we need to send you this little prize pack. Okay, but Alan, you do need to comment live right now to say you're here and that you claim your prize, or I'll have to move on to the next individual. So hopefully Alan is here. We'll give you a minute or so. Meanwhile, while we wait for Alan, I thought I would just I left my gun in the holster because it is loaded, and I decided, hey, we're going to talk about ankle carry, so I'm going to carry my backup ankle gun. So this one is hot. I'm going to come out of the holster carefully, and I can maintain this in a safe direction. I'm going to pull my magazine out, and I'm going to eject that round. All right. So we are now unloaded and clear. Okay. I'm going to take that ammunition, and I'm going to set this way over here. Alan's still here. Excellent, Alan. Congratulations. Alan is the winner of today's random prize pack as part of participating in our live show. So thank you, Alan. You're our first ever YouTube winner. So that's pretty cool. And apparently, I think, Alan, you said, I think it was Alan. Yeah, he says he doesn't do Facebook, so he's excited to be here watching the podcast live for probably the first time because you were able to catch it on YouTube for the first time. So very, very, very cool. So I was just going to give you guys a quick rundown on the LCP2, just kind of almost like a mini review of sorts. I was going to do it to kill time while I waited for Alan, but he got back to us. I was not much of a fan of the original LCP. I mean, I think they're an okay gun. They're generally pretty reliable, but they're really hard to shoot well and shoot accurately. And a couple of reasons why. Number one, the original LCP, the sights were even worse than these ones. You can see if it'll focus. Maybe not. This one's got a little bit more of a sight, of a front and rear sight. It's really quite blurry, but the original LCP, those sights are even less pronounced. They're harder to use and harder to see. So the LCP2 has an improved sight picture. They are just black sights. You could put some kind of photoluminescent, paint or something on the front sight. This is an up-close gun for me, so I'm not super concerned. And if it's low light, I should probably have my flashlight out anyway, in which case I'll pick up the silhouette of the sights. But these ones are more usable than the original LCP. Again, this is the LCP2. I think the grip is improved on the LCP2. The texture is better. There's more of it, and the grip is also a tad wider. So they widened out this back portion here, so it gives you just a little bit more to hold on to. And I barely get even the second finger on there. So not a whole lot to hold on to. Granted, it is a 380, so there's not a lot of recoil, but it is a tad snappy because of its very, very small and lightweight size. But the other thing is the original LCP, the trigger was terrible. Oh, rough. Long, double action only. And they went to a single action internal hammer fired mechanism with a trigger safety. And, this seems like it's working pretty well. And I will say that this one is a lot more shootable. On a plate rack at like 25 yards, I could go 5 out of 6. I kept trying to get 6 for 6. That was just a little bit. I was asking a little bit too much from such a little gun, and apparently at my level of skill. But 5 out of 6 hits in a row on a plate rack, 25 yards with a little gun like this, not too shabby. So actually it increased my confidence quite a bit in carrying something like this, knowing that I can actually still shoot pretty well. It is more challenging. It's more difficult. It's more or less controllable. All that stuff. The sights suck, whatever. But this is not a bad little choice for a backup gun. It is some people's primary gun, but it's not ideal for that purpose. But if it is your primary gun, train with this sucker. You could be effective with it. It's just not as ideal, and it's not as easy to get effective with it at all. It frankly is quite challenging. So anyway, little mini review, little bonus content for you here at the end of the episode. I'm glad Alan claimed his prize. Alan, again, please you don't do Facebook, so you probably can't message us through Facebook. So send us an email, podcast@concealedcarry.com. And once you email us, then we'll go ahead and just send us your full name, your address, your contact info. That way we can get this prize pack sent out to you. All right, with the stickers and the Sig Sauer koozie. So if Alan, if we don't hear from you, within a few days, then I guess we'll have to move on. So, all right, folks, you take care. Have a great weekend. I appreciate you for joining us on either Facebook or YouTube today. Hope you enjoyed the podcast and this slightly different format and setup and everything. So thanks so much. Take care.